Most men think lust is harmless, a natural craving, something you deal with when it shows up, then forget about until the next time. But they don't realize that lust is not just an urge. It's a system, a trap, a silent prison that shapes the very way you think, speak, and act without you even noticing. Machiavelli understood this better than most. To him, power wasn't just about armies and politics. It was about mastering the forces inside you before they mastered you. And lust was one of the most dangerous forces of all. Why? Because it makes you predictable. And a predictable man is easy to control. When lust controls you, you lose more than just self-respect. You lose the ability to see clearly. You stop asking if something is good for you and only ask if it feels good right now. Your focus drifts. Your standards drop. Your willpower bleeds out slowly, day after day, until you don't even recognize yourself. Look at the modern world. Everything, and from advertising to social media, is designed to keep you chasing desire. Not because they want you happy, but because a man chasing pleasure will spend anything, do anything, agree to anything, as long as he thinks it will satisfy the craving. And when the craving returns, which it always does, he comes crawling back for more. That's why so many men never build anything lasting. Their energy is scattered. Their nights are consumed by empty pursuits, their mornings haunted by quiet regret. Lust promises release, but it delivers chains. Machiavelli warned that the man who cannot govern himself will be governed by others, and if you can be swayed by the pull of lust, you are already conquered. You don't need to be threatened or bribed. You will hand over your time, your focus, and even your dignity willingly. But here's the paradox. The moment you see the prison, you also see the key. The first step in conquering lust is to recognize it for what it is. Not a harmless indulgence, but a test of mastery. And the man who passes that test doesn't just win over his desires, he wins his freedom. Because once lust no longer dictates your moves become dangerous, unpredictable, strategic. You start thinking about tomorrow instead of just tonight, and in a world full of men enslaved to impulse, a man with control is untouchable. The path is not easy. It requires awareness, the courage to notice the moment lust starts whispering in your ear. And it requires discipline, the strength to act according to your long-term vision, even when the short-term temptation feels overwhelming. But the transformation is worth it. You go from being a man the world can manipulate to being a man the world has to respect, and that is where everything begins to change. Think about that. Machiavelli's writings are often misunderstood as a cold, manipulative instructions for gaining power at all costs. But beneath the political strategy lies something more personal, a deep understanding of human weakness. And lust is one weakness he knew could ruin even the most intelligent man. He observed that rulers, generals, and influential men often fell not because of their enemies' strength, but because of their own inability to master desire. How many kings lost their crowns for the sake of a woman? How many warriors walked into traps, lured by beauty and flattery? In politics, lust was not just a private vice. It was a weapon enemies could use. But here's where Machiavelli's brilliance shows. He didn't just warn against lust, he offered a framework for conquering it. His advice wasn't about becoming cold or lifeless. It was about becoming untouchable. The first principle? Detach your mind from your body's demands. When lust hits, it demands immediate satisfaction. But the moment you can observe the craving instead of instantly acting on it, you weaken its grip. Machiavelli would say, control the battlefield by controlling the timing. Don't fight lust at its strongest. Delay the decision. Wait. The craving is loud, but it is temporary. If you can wait, you can win. The second principle, redirect your energy into creation. Lust is raw energy, and energy can be transformed. Most men waste it on momentary indulgence, but if you channel that same drive into building your skills, your body, your business, the results are extraordinary. Machiavelli understood that in politics, energy was everything. A man who wasted his was powerless. A man who stored it and used it strategically could change the world. The third principle, see lust for what it really is: manipulation in disguise. Every image, every temptation, every opportunity for pleasure is also an attempt to pull you off your path. Machiavelli would tell you, if they can tempt you, they can predict you. If they can predict you, they can control you. The enemy who knows your weakness already owns part of you. And finally, the fourth principle, build a vision so powerful that lust becomes small in comparison. You can't kill desire by force alone. You have to replace it. When your mission excites you more than the fantasy in your head, lust becomes background noise. You start to live for something bigger. When you adopt these principles, something changes. You no longer walk into the same traps. You no longer give away your time, energy, or dignity so cheaply. People notice. They might not understand it, but they feel it. You're not desperate. You're not chasing. You're moving with purpose. And that makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Because once lust can't lead you by the nose, no one can. The man who conquers desire doesn't just gain self-control. He gains freedom from the oldest weapon in history. And in Machiavelli's eyes, that man is not just living, he is ruling. When you conquer lust, people notice, even if they don't understand why. It's not that you walk around bragging about it. You don't announce, "I'm above desire." You don't need to. The change radiates from you in ways that words can't capture. Lust creates a certain energy in a man, a restless, hungry tension. You see it in his eyes when he talks to women. You hear it in his voice, the subtle desperation. You notice it in his decisions. Rushed, impulsive, chasing the fastest hit of pleasure. People sense this energy, even subconsciously, and they treat him accordingly. When you break that chain, the opposite happens. Your presence changes. Your eyes stop darting around looking for validation. Your conversations slow down. You stop performing and start being, and the world responds. Women feel it first, not in some mystical way, but in the way they instinctively test men. They notice that you're not swayed by flattery, that you're not trying to impress them for the sake of attention. They can't pull you into emotional games because you're not playing for the reward they think you want. That confuses them. And it attracts them, not because you're cold, but because you're grounded. You have self-control, the rarest currency in today's world. Men notice it too. In business, in friendships, in any competitive space, they sense you're not easily manipulated. If you can't be tempted with pleasure, you can't be cheaply bought. You become the man in the room whose word means something. Because it's not swayed by impulse. That builds respect. It builds trust. But here's the most profound change: how you see yourself. When you master lust, you stop feeling like a slave to your urges. That quiet shame, the kind you don't talk about, the feeling that you're weaker than you should be, starts to disappear. In its place grows a quiet confidence. You start to feel proud of yourself in a way no one can give you. It's not arrogance, it's self-respect. And with that self-respect comes a different kind of ambition. You start to expect more from life and from yourself. You realize you were wasting energy all along, energy that could have been fueling your growth, your work, your legacy. Now, it's yours again. And once you've had a taste of that clarity, you'll never want to go back. Machiavelli knew that a man's influence came from his ability to remain unmoved by the chaos around him. Lust is one of the greatest sources of chaos. Remove it, and suddenly you can stand still while the world spins. Watching, deciding, acting only when it serves your higher aim. This is why conquering lust doesn't just change your relationships. It changes the hierarchy you exist in. You move from being one of the countless men chasing distraction to one of the few shaping their own path. And in a world of followers, a man like that becomes a leader by default. The truth is simple. Self-control is magnetic. And the moment you have it, you'll see the world respond in ways that once seemed impossible. Conquering lust isn't a one-time victory. It's not like slaying a dragon and hanging its head on the wall. Lust is cunning. It waits. It shifts. It finds new ways to get into your mind. That's why every man who has ever made progress knows this truth. The war is daily. The moment you think you're safe is the moment it strikes. Machiavelli warned leaders to never underestimate an enemy that still breathes. Even if it retreats, even if it hides, it can return when you least expect it. Lust is the same. One moment of weakness, one night when your guard is down, can pull you back into old habits. And unlike other battles, this one happens in private, where no one else can hold you accountable. That's why you need a strategy, not just willpower. Willpower alone fades when you're tired, stressed, or lonely. Strategy endures. The first strategy: guard your inputs. Every image, every video, every conversation plants seeds. Some grow into focus, others into temptation. The man who believes he can handle it while surrounding himself with triggers is like a soldier who walks into enemy territory without armor. Sooner or later, he bleeds. The second strategy: keep your hands full with purpose. An idle mind is lust's favorite playground. If you're bored, unfulfilled, or directionless, your brain will seek stimulation, and lust is the fastest fix. Fill your life with meaningful work, physical challenges, and creative projects. The busier you are with what matters, the less space lust has to grow. The third strategy: use the power of delay. When the craving hits, don't fight it head on. Postpone it. Tell yourself, not now, maybe later. You'd be surprised how often the urge fades if you refuse to feed it instantly. Machiavelli understood the art of timing. In war, in politics, in temptation, delay weakens the enemy. The fourth strategy: remember the cost vividly. Think about the time you've lost in the past, the energy wasted, the opportunities missed because you chose a moment of pleasure over a step toward your future. Keep that memory sharp. Pain is a powerful teacher if you let it speak. And the fifth strategy: build a vision stronger than any craving. You can't live by avoidance alone. You need something worth fighting for. A future so compelling it makes the short-term thrill feel small. Whether it's mastery in your craft, financial independence, physical excellence, or building a legacy, your mission must be greater than your temptation. The truth is, this war never ends. But over time, you get better at winning it. The cravings still come, but they no longer rule you. You stop reacting and start choosing, and that choice, repeated day after day, turns into something far greater than self-control. It becomes self-mastery. Machiavelli believed that the man who can govern himself can govern anything. And once you learn to command your desires instead of obeying them, you carry that strength into every area of life. It changes the way you think, the way you work, the way you lead. But perhaps the most important thing it changes is the way you see yourself. Think about that.
One day you wake up and the noise is gone. The craving, the restless thoughts, the quiet guilt. They're no longer the first thing in your mind. In their place, space. Space for focus. Space for ambition. Space for peace. You haven't become cold. You've become more alive. Without lust fogging your vision, you notice more. Not just beauty in people, but in life itself. The morning light on your desk, the satisfaction of finishing what you start, the depth of a real conversation. Machiavelli would call this the ultimate advantage. Clarity without weakness. You can admire without chasing, connect without clinging, walk away without feeling loss. That is mastery. Your relationships shift. Those who once tried to sway you see you as immovable. The ones who respect strength are drawn in, and you no longer need approval to feel complete. Work changes too. Energy that once leaked into distractions now fuels progress. Projects move forward. Opportunities appear, or rather, you finally see them. Most importantly, you see yourself differently. That quiet shame of being ruled by impulse, gone. In its place, trust. You trust your word because you've proven it in the hardest battle, the one no one sees. But this victory isn't the end. Machiavelli warned that power without purpose is dangerous. Self-mastery is the foundation. The question now, what will you build on it? Because lust was never just about desire. It was about control. Who has it? Before, it controlled you. Now, you own yourself. And in a world where most people are slaves to their urges, that makes you rare. It makes you powerful. It makes you free. The man who emerges after conquering lust is sharper, calmer, and far more dangerous. Not because he seeks harm, but because he cannot be moved from his path. And once you become that man, you realize the truth. The world doesn't belong to the strongest. It doesn't belong to the smartest. It belongs to the man who owns himself. Think about that.